People like this are why Sony is developing 12 different live service games at once in an era of gaming where people don't want that anymore.
They're not doing 12, though. They canceled it. So if you're saying that, then they read.
And how many layoffs happened?
Tons. It doesn't matter.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter if people pay money or don't. They increase game prices. They said they're going to go back into investors. They lied, and they fired them anyway. We just covered a story where a guy's spending it on cars. Do you think calling for people to say, you have to spend more money, it's on you, that perpetuates the elitism of
I'm not saying it's just this. It is a multitude of things. Is it a war on two fronts? Absolutely. But I'll fight it because I care. Not just because of my dumb entertainment, but because there were people who spend hundreds and hundreds of hours working to put out these dead games after 2 months or after a weekend that you fuckers don't care about anymore. Art used to mean something.
Sadly, something that was very formative to me, and undoubtedly many others in my video game journey. This is from Kotaku. GameStop shuts down Game Informer, the longest-running gaming magazine in the U.S.
And Connor, unfortunately, the bad news doesn't stop there. It keeps going. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to jump over to layoffs continue to hit the industry. This time, they hit Bungie again for the second time in less than a year. On July 31st, 2024, Pete Parsons posted on the Bungie website, the new path for Bungie. Due to rising costs of development and industry shifts, as well as enduring economic conditions, it has become clear that we need to make substantial changes to our cost structure and focus development efforts entirely on Destiny and Marathon. That means, beginning today, 220 of our roles will be eliminated, representing roughly 17% of our studio's workforce. These actions will affect every level of the company, including most of our executive and senior leader roles. Today is a difficult and painful day, especially for our departing colleagues, all of which have made important and valuable contributions to Bungie. This caused quite a bit of outrage on the internet and throughout the gaming industry, and specifically at Bungie, both on those who survived the layoffs and those who did not, because a lot of these problems are quite easy to avoid. And a story quickly came out that Bungie CEO Pete Parsons spent over $2.3 million buying classic cars after the Sony acquisition. PlayStationLifestyle.net has an article saying Bungie misled Sony about its financial position ahead of acquisition. Moving on, story number 4, our final topic of the day, my final penny of the day. Palworld developer says playing the same game all the time is not healthy for players or the industry. This is from Chris Scullion at VGC News. A member of the Palworld development team says that it isn't healthy to play the same game all the time if it wasn't created with long-term gameplay in mind. Speaking to the Going Indie YouTube channel, the game's community manager, John Buckley, better known to players as Bucky, responded to claims that Palworld is a, quote, dead game because its daily peak concurrent players count is around 60,000 rather than the more than 2 million it hit at launch. Buckley argued that the game was never designed to be played forever and that doing so serves no purpose to players. According to Buckley, if players continue to play the same title, it will enforce the belief among publishers and developers that more live service games are the way forward, diluting the market. Quote, I don't think you need to be pushing yourself to play the same game all the time, Buckley said. It's not healthy for us. It's not healthy for developers. It's not healthy for gamers. It's not healthy for gaming media. And it's just not healthy for our industry because the more we push this kind of narrative, the more very large companies are going to just say gamers want more live service. And we're going to get more of these soulless live service games that come out, then get shut down 9 to 12 months later because they're not making enough money. And we all lose in that case. Instead, Buckley said players should play a wider variety of games, especially indie games, to focus more on having fun than committing to a single game like Palworld. Quote, play all the indies you can, he said. Spend as much money on indies as you can. Really support the guides who are trying to make fun games. I think he meant to say guys there. I think that's a mistranslation.
Probably,
there.
yeah.
Who cares if it's only 5 people playing it? Just enjoy yourself. Just enjoy games. I don't think it needs to be any more complex than that. This isn't the first time Buckley has responded to discourse about Palworld's dropping player count by encouraging players to broaden their horizons. Back in February, Buckley advised fans to try playing other games while they wait for Palworld content updates, saying a drop in players is entirely fine because Palworld isn't the sort of games designed to regularly give players new content. And yeah.
Great points all around.
Great points all around. Really well spoken there. Here's the thing is that games aren't meant to be played, and that's the thing you play, you know? Like, I understand we live in a world of Fortnite and 2K and, you know, now NCAA where, like, hey, this is just, in Call of Duty, this is just what I play, and I play it all the time, and this is where my friends go to hang out and stuff like that. You see it around the industry in totality. People call Helldivers 2 a dead game. Helldivers 2? Are you fucking kidding me? Helldivers 2 is more than it ever was supposed to be. And it's incredible that it even got to that point. And this whole idea of just like a drop in player count, can you still find a game? Can you still find people to play with? Yeah? Well, then it's not a dead game, isn't it? We just reviewed, or we're going to review if you keep watching this episode, Doom 2016. That has a multiplayer mode that is dead. There are no players in that multiplayer mode. 0 players, you know? It's not so much a like, it's a dead game, you can't like play. It's just like it's just less popular than it used to be, and that's fine. Why are you playing the most popular game in the world and only the most popular game in the world? That's boring.
There are games that are able to occupy that space of continuously getting value out of it. The ones you said before, Call of Duty obviously has existed as long as it has because that multiplayer is so cyclical, and they always come out with new games, and so they just continue on that trend over and over and over. But you definitely saw a trend of a ton of other people wanting to get in on that slice of pie because it looked nice from the outside.
Yeah.
But as more and more and more people did that you saw more closures happen. In fact, live service games, while they were getting amped up by a lot of game studios, like it was Sony that was the one that had a bunch in.
Yeah, they had like 12.
12. And then what'd you see them do? Cancel all of them.
Bring it down to 6.
Because they realized, well, this is not the trend we should continue to follow. Palworld, honestly, whenever I kept hearing about this game, it never occurred to me it was a live service game, or it was supposed to be treated as such.
It's not.
And yeah, that's kind of how people acted about it.
Yeah.
And now that the player count has dropped, you see people say it's a dead game because it had that expectation and that, that framing of being a live service game. Concord. A great game from what we played in that beta, but it's a live service game and people are tired of those. People have other ones to go to that they've already have, hours and hours of progression and unlockables in. They have not that much incentive to go and hop on the next new live service game. And, I think we're just going to continue to see more and more developers echo this same viewpoint. It's not sustainable, and in the same way, it's not sustainable to continue to have, one game released every 6 or 8 years, however long it's going to continue to make to, push out these, bigger and better games. It's a weird time for the industry, kind of in a transitionary period. Not only with this, but also with all the layoffs that occur and the grander economy possibly kind of having some problems down the line. It's uncertain right now and difficult to navigate, but I think it's only going to increase.
Also, I just don't like the trend that has been always the case in the industry or whatever. Like, I understand video games are expensive, and you want to get the best bang for your buck out of them. So, like, it's really cool when a game can give you 100 hours of content for the same price as a game that can only give you 12 hours. Yeah, that's cool. But, like, sometimes those 12 hours mean so much more than the 100 hours, and I would rather experience and re-experience those same 12 hours than play 100 hours of the next Far Cry game. Like, I would just rather do that. Helldivers 2 sold at $40-$50 and was great for about 20 hours because there was about 20 hours of content. I put that down and I moved on to the next one. Here's the thing is I understand wanting to get the most bang for your buck. Your $70 matters. Buy more games. like invest more into the hobby that you like, man. Like, and I understand that, like, some games are free to play, and I have the same amount of fun on those, and that's great. It's great that fucking Fortnite is free. It's great that Valorant is free, and you can play for hundreds of hours on those games and never get bored. That's fantastic. But if you are getting bored, don't complain that other games are asking for money. Just fucking do yourself a favor and buy them. Like, it's okay to buy a video game.
Elitist prick.
How?
Not
In
only
what way?
spending money, and we're the gaming guys, dude. Everyone has to be on our level. Too great for that. We
I'm
can't
not
expect
saying
others
that. I'm not saying that.
to
but
buy
like,
as many games.
I think complaining about Concord being $40 is fucking crazy to me.
Well, yeah.
Like, that's insane to me.
It'd be stupid if it was 70, but
Complaining that Spider-Man 2 is $70 is crazy to me. That's insane. That game's worth $70.
Spider-Man 2?
Yeah, you can maybe not like it that much, but it's worth $70 fucking dollars. A lot of people fucking worked on it.
I wonder if we're going to see those layoffs.
I think this product is worth money.
Palworld?
And you're getting it, us
Oh.
is worth money. And you're getting it for free right now because we care. But it's a lot of fucking work.
We also can't charge you.
We also can't charge you. I mean, we can, but like nobody's going to buy it. It's a lot of fucking work to do that. And it's exponentially more work to do what these game devs are doing. It's so much work. And that always gets lost. And I just think, like, I'm sorry. You fucking cheapskates need to shut the fuck up.
I think you're being way too critical. I mean, it's already stupid
How?
they
Why?
raised game prices, but also, like,
Everything else got
$70
raised, and I'm not saying that's good too, but it makes sense.
But
if
70
everything else is going up, yeah, video games are going to go up too.
Everything is, but video games are a different kind of thing. That's $70. That's it's already a bigger asking price than, let's say a fucking meal or a Blu-ray of a movie or something like that.
Like,
or going to the
I'm
theaters.
sorry, 10 out of 10 times, I value a video game experience more than spending $50 at a restaurant.
But the problem is that it's more price. It's a price increase for the exact same thing. You mentioned Spider-Man 2. It's not any bigger or more full of stuff to do in it than games that came out 10 years ago.
It
And
quite
yet
literally
demands
is
higher.
bigger and more stuff to do and loads faster and plays faster, and there's more things to do in them in the gameplay loop than games that came out 10 years ago. You're not going to gaslight me into that. I played the games from 10 years ago.
That's not true at all. You have tons of RPGs. You have tons of, if this is obviously not the same type of game.
Compare
MMOs.
Spider-Man 2 to Batman Arkham Asylum.
That's not what I'm comparing it to. I'm comparing it to all the other games, not ones that occupy the exact same space as it, but also just cost less money.
But then what are you comparing here? Because I'm sorry, that Spider-Man 2 gameplay is more engaging and entertaining than the moment-to-moment gameplay of a Baldur's Gate 3 for me. Now that's a genre preference, And again, I'm saying, hey, if you like this genre, fucking support it. If you like this thing, support it. Don't criticize it because it's not as big as you want it to be.
But even so, now I'm actually saying elitist as an actual criticism to say, oh, you don't spend money on this thing? Spend it, pussy. It's like, that's incredibly douchebaggy to say, that's your problem.
That's fine, then shut the fuck up.
No. That's not fucking just a simple thing of like, you don't pay enough money, so you can't complain.
That's like
saying an elitist thing of, I pay more money, I pay the money, so I can say and be critical as I want to be, you can't be because you don't pay more money.
You're misconstruing my argument here. That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying at all. Your $70 is valuable, and you should get value for it. My thing is that you are getting value for it. So why are you complaining about it? Because Fortnite is free? Fortnite is not the most valuable gaming experience you can have on the market. Yes, it has a lot of content. Yes, you can spend hundreds of hours in it. Is that hundreds of hours just as fun as a lot of other games? Maybe, maybe not. But to then assume that every game should follow that format is the same reason why Bungie just shut down a fucking studio.
But, okay, now you're kind of just creating an argument for your own purposes. Who's saying that tons and tons of games need to be free? Like Spider-Man 2. Okay, are you going to pull up people online, just random internet people?
Because this is the problem. This is what people are saying. This is why we are in this situation, Connor. Just because you live in your fucking bubble and you don't read these things.
Dude, you're saying you're a bubble too. You're just saying that everyone's
I'm literally
not paying
pulling up all these people who disagree with something that I say.
Okay, you find people who disagree with you. It's the internet. Dude, you can't go to our channel, which is not emblematic of most people, and for something that people are reacting to. You're including reactionary comments as the general standard for how people think.
You're not reading, then you're not listening to what the people are saying, dude.
Dude,
that's the same reason that people are doing the same thing to Concord right now.
And
that game is valuable and worth some money. Now, is it worth $40? That's up to you to decide. So you either buy it or you don't. But to hold every game at the standard that of Fortnite, Valorant, Call of Duty, Warzone, that all these things need to be free. Hey, these things are all held in the companies of multi-billion-dollar companies that do not care if this game succeeds or not. So I'm talking about the artists that are working to give you an experience that means something. I'm talking about the Doom 2016s. I'm talking about the Last of Us's. I'm talking about let's go fucking indie with it. The Unicorn Overlords. Let's go the Palworlds of the world. Hey, Palworld was free on Game Pass, but is that worth $70? No, but it didn't sell at $70. You know? But it's still worth money. Somebody fucking tried.
Yeah. But you bring up Palworld. Who's complaining about that? You say that you look at comments. That seems to be like you just look at comments, and that's your perspective of how things are. This is the general
conversation of people online. This is why people look at a Helldivers 2 and call that a dead game, even though the numbers that Helldivers 2 put up right now dwarf the numbers that the first game had.
I understand what you're saying, and it's legitimate criticisms, but you're overblowing how grand those arguments are. Most people who played Helldivers 2, they went in like us, had a great experience, and then they left.
People like this are why Sony is developing 12 different live service games at once in an era of gaming where people don't want that anymore.
They're not doing 12, though. They canceled it. So if you're saying that, then they read
And how many layoffs happened?
Tons.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if people pay money or don't. They increased game prices. They said they're going to go back into investors. They lied, and they fired them anyway. We just covered a story where a guy's spending it on fucking cars. Do you think calling for people to say, you have to spend more money, it's on you, that perpetuates the elitism of
I'm not saying it's just this. It is a multitude of things. And the people's expectations to get 200 hours out of a single fucking video game that they got for free should not be an across-the-board expectation of players. We have been talking for weeks about how we have nostalgia for games that had a single player and a multiplayer. And you didn't play them for 100 hours. You played the 15-hour single-player campaign. Maybe it was shorter than that. Honestly, it was probably closer to 8 to 12 hours. And then you enjoyed that. That was enough. And then you had a multiplayer that was tacked on and kind of shitty, but maybe you played it with your fucking friends and had fun for a couple of weekends, right? We have nostalgia for that. I want games to go back to that. I want games to look shittier, be smaller, and have developers who have a livable work-life balance cycle, as opposed to having them forced to shit out Destiny expansion after Destiny expansion after Destiny expansion for some corporate overlord who buys $2.3 million worth of cars. I'm way more okay with spending an increased price of $70 from $60. $10 really not that big of a deal. And if you adjust for inflation, they're still cheaper than games from the 90s. So what the fuck are we talking about? Do you want to play a video game or not? Do you want the industry to live or not? Is it a war on two fronts? Abso-fucking-lutely. But I'll fucking fight it because I fucking care. Not just because of my dumb entertainment, but because there are people who spend hundreds and hundreds of hours working to put out these shitty dead games after 2 months or after a weekend that you fuckers don't fucking care about anymore. Art used to mean something. And they're still putting out great fucking work.
That's all true.
So what are we talking about?
That's the thing.
Buy a fucking video game.
Again, you're just putting all of the onus on this figure that you've created in your mind.
Nobody complains. Nobody complains about going to the movie theaters and buying a ticket for a movie. Nobody fucking complains about that. Nobody complains, or people didn't used to complain about buying a DVD.
They complain about the snacks.
And the snacks are outrageous, right? Right, but that's the chain. That's not the creator.
Yeah, no.
Right, that's the movie theater chain.
Of course,
and of course, you should support a movie theater chain as well. But the prices are getting ridiculous. They are. It cost us $60 to get 2 popcorns, a couple boxes of candies, and 2 bottles of water. That's ridiculous, right? That's outrageous. So yeah, and again, the rising cost of everything is fucking annoying. I hate it too. But guys, we as the consumer cannot let the standard be free to play. We cannot let the standard be Game Pass. We cannot let the standard be these cheap bullshit ass deals that are hurting the industry. It's clearly the wrong way to go.
It is, certainly. My, once again, issue is that's the main thing people are advocating for. It just doesn't seem to be the case. Most people are, a lot of people who play games, they're fine with spending their, 1, 2, 3 games a year and paying $70 for it, even if they do complain, like me, for example.
Then why are my comments filled with Spider-Man 2 was a great game for a video that all that video says is Spider-Man 2 was a great game and it got nitpicked to death?
It's because people see someone praising something that they don't like, and because they spend all their time on the internet, they say, I'm going to go comment on that guy's, views and say how stupid he is and wrong and make dumb points. All those people, I didn't read the actual comments, guaranteed they're probably stupid. probably why you brought them up. But once again, it's hard. You cannot, and you might be right. I'll give you this olive branch because maybe most people do think that way, but we have no way of knowing. It's all our perceptions, and that's all we got. Like you say, I do live in a bubble, but I recognize that. And not all the time, but I do recognize that.
Right?
Sometimes.
No, and I do too. But this is my argument of like people who live outside of my bubble. Mm-hmm. My bubble thinks like I do.
Yeah.
Right. And I try to listen and pay attention. And guess what? That's when you look at the overall shifts in the gaming market and what games succeed and fail and stuff. It's because you need to get out of your bubble and realize, oh man, I fucking loved this game. Everybody I know loved this game. Why did it fail? Well, because other people didn't love this game, right? Or other people felt that it charged too much, even though it had been worked on for 5 years with a team of like 100 people or whatever the fuck. I forget how many people Firewalk has or whatever, you know? And it's just like, what are we doing? Mm-hmm. Why is this the standard now? Like, you had to pay for Overwatch when it came out, man.
$60.
It was full price.
Mm-hmm. But that, once again,
multiplayer games aren't even full priced anymore,
mm-hmm.
which I think is also shitty if you think about it, because there's nothing more or less value to a game, whether it's multiplayer or single player. It just plays to a different audience.
It really comes down to the model of live service games getting their money not on the initial purchase, but on everything that comes after the fact. But most games don't offer that. Most games do just give you the experience of you're buying this for the tailor-made experience that we are marketing to you. Spider-Man 2, narrative, action, adventure, swing around New York, but then that compared to something like Concord or, Concord, Helldivers, smaller priced games that, like you say, they don't really have a reason besides trying to cater to the market of who play those kinds of games, the live service games, which in those cases, of course, they're going to want to pay less because they have the expectation due to the bigwigs setting that expectation. I think they're wrong, same as you, but how many people actually complain about all games like that as opposed to live service and multiplayer games? Which I think you would definitely find people say, yeah, we should be free. Why is it not free? Even if it doesn't really need to be or should be free. But that's a whole different type of gaming than gaming as a whole. I don't know if I made my point all that well, but...
I was a little lost there. I don't, because you criticize the move to $70 a lot more than I do.
Yeah.
And my thing is like, well, if everything's more fucking expensive and video games were stuck at $60 for a long ass time, you don't see successful industries stick to a single price point for a long time. And for $10, yes, it's more. And I'm not trying to devalue that because some people that $10 means do they get to keep the lights on for the next month. I understand that. But $10 relatively is not that much more than 70 is not that much more than 60. And it's not like they're changing the price every month. It's one price change that will probably last at least to the end of the generation, and then from there, now we have to have the question again of if it's if that's the right move or not. I would say no, but again, there didn't used to be a pricing model for video games. Some games did cost $100 in the 90s,
mm-hmm.
in the 80s. They would cost that much. That's what they would sell for. And now there's a standard to it, and not every game is made the same. Some are more expensive than others, and so the fact that they're all cost around the same, one of three different tier levels being $70, $40 free, that's insane. I mean, there's like a $20 range in there too, but that's insane that we have that level of tiered systems and structure. And there's like a $3 game or whatever, but you can't change that price. It's not even like a we get paid up front, all right, and then you can say, oh, we'll discount it at in 8 months or whatever. Yeah, but that's not guaranteed. It's not guaranteed. There's not a guaranteed slope of amount that it will cost at a certain amount of time, Mm-hmm. And it's not like they're gonna get stupid cheap outside of when you go and play them years later. And guys, spoilers. I'm not talking about games you just buy at launch. I'm talking about fucking Doom is what, $9 right now? Go fucking buy it and play it. That still supports id. That still supports Bethesda games and supports Xbox. So maybe if you get off your ass and go play this game that's been great for almost a decade, yeah, you got to put forward a little bit of money to go play it. But if you go play it, maybe that helps in the case of not as so many people need to get laid off when it comes time. Like,
see, that's the thing, because I do talk about the $10 price increase. I would have forgotten about it a while ago. In fact, the price amount isn't really what grinds my gears. It's the justification that was given.
Yeah.
Games cost more. We want to reinvest in our employees.
which they do.
Yeah, they do. But the other big bit, it does not go back to the employees.
Well, did you also see, because there was I saw an infographic go around on the internet this last week. It was like all of Rockstar's games in the years that they were released or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And in the 2000s and even in like early 90s and stuff, it would be like 3-4 games a year. And then it turned into 1 or 2 games a year. Then it turned into 1 game a year. And then it turned to 1 game every couple of years. And now we're at 1 game every 5 to 6.
Which is where your cheaper, not as nice looking games come into play to offset that issue. But unfortunately,
which is where they would have, right? It is, there was big Ted Pole, like lightning strike, your Grand Theft Auto 3 and 4 and so forth would come through. And then there was a bully. And then there was a manhunt. And
Red Dead Revolver.
Yeah, like there was like bullshit like that. And those don't exist anymore. Every single game has to be fucking gorgeous. Every single game has to have 30 hours of content or it's not worth money. Every single game needs to have premier voice acting and innovative quests and has to be original, like it's just not sustainable. So you're watching these devs and these executives react to that conversation and shore it all up and say, nope, every single game has to be, boom, hundreds of millions of dollars in sales or we close the studio down.
But isn't the expansion of those features entirely dependent on those who make the games rather than what the developers demand? Because at the end of the day, if you frame it in the sense of gamers want better graphics, they want more content in the game.
Right.
The people who decide to put that in the game to start saying, hey, this is the new expectation are not the developers really. It's more the executives, I think, who determine why are we making this game? We want to make tons of money on the back end of it. Make Fortnite. Make Overwatch, what have you.
I mean, again, this is my point of it's a two-front war.
Okay, yeah.
We need to have the conversation and check the Pete Parsons of the world who are spending millions of dollars on classic cars when your company is in the red. Mm-hmm. And then we also need to check the gamer who is entitled. I'm not saying every gamer is entitled, but there are entitled gamers out here.
As I was saying before, that's not emblematic of everyone. It's emblematic of a certain group.
Right.
And
in the middle, you have creatives who are just trying to make cool shit.
Yeah.
Right? And that's where my fight is fuck this motherfucker who's buying $2.3 million worth of cars, but also fuck you who thinks every fucking video game should be free and have 100 hours of content.
Sure, yeah.
That takes time. Every hour of content probably takes 5 times as much to make that 1 hour. It takes us 6 hours to make 3 hours. And really it's a little bit more than that. And then I have to sit here and feel guilty to ask you to edit a fucking YouTube short.
You don't have to.
Thank you. But, this is the battle that we have with what the internet turned the industry into. This is the battle that we have that what streaming services like Netflix and Hulu turned the industry into. Everybody wants everything on demand all the time, and it just can't happen that way. Now, what do we do in response to that? Stop subscribing to the fucking streaming services. Stop buying the fucking battle passes and buy a fucking indie game at $20.
You heard it here, everyone. Tavin is saying pirate games.
Nope.
Pirate movies.
Literally just said buy an indie game at $20.
Oh, you said...
Yeah, if you would listen to the whole fucking sentence.
Do all of this except for indie games. That's your stance.
No, just buy a fucking video game. Support the arts.
Mm-hmm.
Always been my stance. It always will be my stance. It's not... I promise you, the money isn't that... money's just not valuable in that way. Mm-hmm. I would rather have the experience than the money. What's the point of having $70 extra in my bank account and just have it continuously building $70 when I could go and I could play a Last of Us Part 2. I could go and I could play an Elden Ring, a Ghost of Tsushima, a fucking what's a game I'm excited for? Astrobot. Mm-hmm. God, I hope. I don't think it will. I don't know if it is or is not or have not been confirmed. But if Astrobot is $70, I'm paying $70 for that game. I don't give a shit. The game looks awesome. I want to play it. I want to have that experience. Why do we value that less than hours? Time.
What?
And I understand time is money and you only have so much time in the day and you want to make sure that time is valuable and shit like that. I understand. That's where the voting with your wallet comes into play. But if the expectation is to have this all the fucking time, you're not going to get there. You're just not. And that's how we get people who think Spider-Man 2, which is a bigger game, has more complex combat systems, has better combat systems than so many other action games out there, think that it's not worth $70. I'm sorry, but it is. Now, and I have criticisms of that game. The third act, is kind of whatever. But the first 2 acts are fucking awesome. And there's moments in that game that I'm going to remember for the rest of my life, both as a video game and Spider-Man fan. What are we talking about? You know what I'm saying?
This gaming world's just complicated.
And it's just like, hey, the $20 you spent on a fucking Fortnite Battle Pass, you could still play Fortnite and then go buy, I don't even know. What's a fucking popular indie game from the last 10 years? Fucking Among Us, you know?
Yeah, you can buy a couple with that.
Was Fall Guys free to play? I don't remember.
It's now free to play.
It is now free to play.
Yeah.
Yeah, things like that. Rocket League made its success off of $20.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Rocket League eventually became free to play, but it was $20 to start.
But
It also launched on PS Plus for free, and that what really and it's okay to soft launch something on free to play and then charge. I think, I don't know. Is there a right solution to any of these problems? Yes and no, but
we could think.
But my thing is it's not just the greedy corporate executives. It's a large part of it. Fuck them too. But we need to have onus on ourselves as well.